In this video, hear how traders on our desk work with their trading team and mentors to quickly improve their trading. Hi, I'm Jeff Holden, Head of Recruiting at S&B Capital, a proprietary trading firm located in Midtown Manhattan, trading equities, options, and futures as automated and discretionary traders. In this video, we review a big trading opportunity with a developing trader and discuss some ways that working with a mentor and then taking the necessary steps on a plan to grow his trading helped him quickly improve and better execute on a trade that made his month. Let's get to work on sharing this important trading lesson so you can continue to grow.
This is a playbook on CEI from the end of September on applying a skill set and just waiting for your right moments to size. So just a little overview. I'm going to be going through just identifying and trading your main strengths and then how to apply those strengths in other ways, breaking down the execution, analyzing the execution, and trying to figure out how we're going to get better at this. To start off, I found strengths in scalping and my speed of processing data, and then I combined that with trading higher time frame breakouts over the past year, and then I learned to trade with a lot of size in my specific spots. But naturally, market environments shift and different edges outperform, and so the question traders at the desk were asking themselves and continue to ask themselves in their teams is, how can I and how can we apply our strengths to match the opportunity set and find different ways to get in and execute whatever's going on. And so asking myself that.
Yeah, and are you guys talking about that in your team? Are you recognizing each other's strengths and discussing it and talking about how you're adding value to everyone around you?
Right, yeah, after our monthly review with Bella and Dr. S, they made a big emphasis on what is everyone bringing to the team value-wise. And so then we looked at Dan's team and looked at the guys on that team, and just listening to them talk, they're always asking themselves, how can we get into this? They're just talking about, this is happening, now how do we get into this? It's not just a matter of, this is happening and, it doesn't exactly fit our permutations or executions. We don't love it, but it's, it's still an opportunity. And so I think there's a balance between there. I'm a breakout trader that trades, majority large caps. And so on the market experience side, the question I'm asking myself after understanding that this is the question that great traders ask themselves to adapt, I had to kind of just take a step back because I'm not going to be able to trade low floats, even backsides, even low floats to the long side the same way I trade large caps in my breakouts. So I started asking myself, with those moments to size in large cap breakouts, why do I feel like I have an edge in my speed of processing data? And we've gone over some trades where I'll get out of the washout right before it's happening. And so how does that feel different on short traps, on low floats? Difference in execution, there's a massive difference in mental drawdown waiting for a backside, whereas my breakout trades happen within the first hour usually. And for this one, we were sitting there for 5 hours. And then short traps are way different, and there's a far different execution. That way you're minimizing your P&L churn while waiting for the backside. And so just going over some technicals, this is the daily. So you have 4 days of running up into the 5th day of blow off at 485. The firm was trading this the entire way up, all the way from the $1 breakout. And so we were just keeping up with this.
So on the daily, there are maybe a dozen or so trades that you could focus on.
Right.
Both long and short.
Right.
And the desk was involved in a lot of those different trades. There are also traders who were involved from 75 cents all the way up with a core position, but they had done the work to understand the fundamental thesis, and they have done the work to understand what momentum looks like when it grabs hold of a stock.
Right.
That's something that really depends on your team, and on each team you should have somebody who helps you understand what is happening in the bigger picture on this stock and what's really driving it.
Right.
We talked a lot about, or we talk a lot about, what's actually driving the stock. Is it the fundamental story for your breakout trades? Is it the news catalyst? Is it the type of earnings beat?
Right.
Or is it just momentum players that are involved in the stock where the fundamental story of the stock has kind of evolved from the normal technical check marks that we put on a stock, like the float, like the short interest, like the average volume?
Right.
And has it become something that is more of a pure momentum, pure, absolutely fundamental, socially valued story?
Right.
And that's one thing that you want to kind of understand what you're trading. You want to understand, are you trading something that is being driven by this massive fundamental shift in the earnings of the company, or in the analyst expectation of the company,
Right.
or in the trader's expectation
Right.
of the stock?
Right.
And that's a very different set of things and set of criteria to pay attention to.
Right. Yeah. Affects how we trade it and whatnot. Yeah.
It'll affect the way it traps. It'll
Right.
affect the way that momentum moves. It'll affect the opportunity sets that you can see within it. It'll affect the size of the move that you're looking for. Because if something beats earnings by 20% and then it goes up by 30%,
Yeah.
that's in theory an outsized move.
Right.
This thing went up 10x almost
Yeah.
in a 1 month period.
Yeah. Not really comparable.
Not necessarily comparable.
Right.
So using that as a guide of how crazy this can be, but as an intraday trader, how many opportunities can come from that,
Right.
and studying those so you can see them again, and then you'll see them again, and then you'll see them again.
Right. Right. That makes sense. Yeah. I'll have to look more into like story shifts. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you can see them earlier and recognize what's happening earlier in the stock, then it just gives you more swings of the bat at this stock the entire way up.
Right.
Then it's not paying attention to it above $3.
Yeah.
You've been watching the narrative shift at about 75 cents. And whether you're involved or not, you're still tracking it and you're still understanding how it's behaving.
Yeah.
And then you're putting yourself in a really good position for an opportunity.
If you want to learn 3 real-world setups that our traders use, including the simple setup that we teach all of our new traders and the setup that turned one of our traders into a 7-figure big money earner, check out the free webinar that we're currently running. Just go ahead and click the link that should be appearing right now at the top right-hand corner of your screen. That's going to open up this free registration page in the new window, so don't worry, you're not going to lose this video. You're going to learn more in a couple of hours from this trading workshop than from years of online education.
This is the first day's backside intraday action. I'll go through. I have trader view charts that are clear, but you can just see it blows off over 3, and then looks like it stuffs and then reclaims. Day 2, the actual backside. This is the 5 hours basically. You're waiting for it to have a backside. Never really blows off. Just ends up holding a lot higher for a long time, and then obviously it turns. All right, so this is the day 1 backside. To start off, we open up 9:30, and we start to stuff, and so we take a stab at it. And this is exactly what we're talking about. I wasn't ready for this kind of action, and the short trap sprays me higher, like 10 cents, and it wasn't like a ton of size, but I was just like, I can get out of those. Like, it was a tape read, and swing got out of it for pretty much even, and so right there was just like, as soon as it happened, and I knew he got out for even. He's like, oh yep, I got that out right before. I was like, that's a moment I have to study again because I got ripped on it and I didn't need to. And so tried another attempt because when we do see stuffs like this, it's worth trying. But covered it obviously for pretty much even.
And if you watch the history of the stock, the stuffs have been, you can see the day before, see how it's stuffed at $2.60.
Yeah.
The prior one.
This
there
one?
you go.
Yeah.
So the stuffs have actually been short-term changes in character, like distinct stuffs in the
Right.
stock.
Yeah.
So again, that's something where, and stuffs in both directions. Stuffs to the downside had been short-term characters and changes in the stock.
Right.
And they take a little bit of time to play out, but they have been consistently working in this stock.
Right. Yeah. And so that's something that day one backside, day one we're trading it, wasn't thinking about enough. And that's why, we get our third stuff. Didn't short as much here and got kind of nervous in the size. And then we got our max size in the second flush through 310 and under 310.
Because what's happening there? You've got the first real extension from essentially $2.50 to $3.40.
Yep.
If you're looking at from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 10:30 in the morning. So 4 hours of live trading time.
Yeah.
A little less than you have you have a dollar move, which is almost 50% up
Yeah.
in the stock.
Right.
It's, if you're more specific, it's like what, 40% up
Yeah.
in the stock in 4 hour period.
Yeah.
With an extension and an acceleration.
Gave you the blow off, gave you a lot of variables to short this.
But so you can short that.
Right.
But exactly what you did, I think, is a smart move where you're shorting, but you're covering some quickly, because at that point you're still feeling the stock.
Right. Yeah.
If it traps there and you haven't covered any, all of a sudden that next trap gets more brutal than the last trap.
Right.
And
Right.
you want to, especially if you're looking for it, give yourself as many opportunities to be in for a real move as possible.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think the main thing is like, this is when I say max size, like we hit our max share count, and I feel like I wanted to get to this number a little earlier, because I just thought our average could be a little better.
Yeah, I wanted to get to my average at 340. Like, I wanted to be at my max size at 340. Like, guess what? You don't get those options sometimes. So the goal is not being perfect. It's better.
Yeah. 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 So this was a big learning opportunity because our main covers were here, and then stopped on 30% of our core up here. And I felt good about that because I was talking to Swing about it, and it's like you talked about, the variables were there to hold the core. And so after this day finished, I just had to study. I studied it pretty in depth because I just felt like since it held higher and it didn't work and it stopped us out, Swing was like, this could set up again. And I was like, if this does set up again, like you're saying, I know I can do better than what just happened because I just felt it. And so day two backside.
Let's talk a little bit about, or if you can walk me through what you did specifically to make sure that coming into the next day you were going to do better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a 6-hour recording of or I have the recording of this tape and then the next day as well. But general practice, like when I see like mistakes I've made or like executions that I can improve, I just rewatch it like a lot of times, especially for like the short trap here that happened in the beginning, because that's like a tape read. That's purely a tape read. And in the past month, especially, I've seen the power of those short-term tape reads if I can execute like that through Swing. I just thought I was getting away from that a little bit, but I'm realizing that I can really improve a lot within my own process. Just because if that's a strength of mine, then I need to just capitalize on that, regardless of like what I'm trading. And so I think that's the main thing I realized. Like when I'm reviewing this, it's not just reviewing and saying generally, oh, I want to be in from higher. It's like, I know I'm good at this. Now how can that play out better in my own executions? And so the two things that I thought I was going to do better were these tape reads. And so I rewatched all these tape moments. And the second one was holding the core. I noted that I felt nervous holding that 30%, and I wanted to cover more into 270. And so I was just talking to my training partner, Brian. We were just like, when I get in that moment, I'm just going to hand off the core shares to him because one of his strengths is handling the core. And if that's not one of mine, then I'll focus on the entries and managing the size when I get into it. But yeah, just in-depth review, just trying to figure out where I'm strong, where I'm weak, and then really improving those moments.
Were you talking with your team, obviously with Brian, but were you talking with your mentor about that, and were you open and honest about how you want to get better?
Yeah, we talked about it with Swang. We didn't talk about it as a team till after the second day backside, where we talked about everything together. But after this day, I was telling Swang that I told him, I was like, I felt great in the 10K or in the share short that were max for our account at that time. And so when I said that, he was like, oh, he gave us the bump in shares. And then I also told him, like, that first rip, like, it just didn't feel good knowing that it was a tape read and I got ripped on it. And I like, as soon as it happened, I knew he got out for even. I was like, he got out for even. Oh my gosh. And so I told him that, and he was like, yeah, just keep rewatching it. Like, I'm sure he'll get it. And so, yeah, I just had to keep rerunning through it.
Okay, so that's good, because I think it does set up the next day, which we don't know if the next day is going to bring a really good opportunity. You know, this could have been a gap below 3 and then a rally back up towards 310 that stuffs, and then all of a sudden it kind of provides a downtrend day towards 230. It could have been a gap above 5 and then a pure momentum blow off.
Yeah.
It could have been a gap above 5 with a pre-market blow off. It could have been spent 4 days between 340 and 290.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different permutations or different opportunities that could set up. The thing that I like about this is you took the ownership of making a plan of how you could improve the next day. That's really different than a lot of traders. A lot of traders say, I want to be better at this. I want to have better results the next day. But they don't work with their mentor. They don't learn from their mentor and then take the steps to follow through.
Right.
It's very difficult to put yourself out there and say, I didn't do as well as I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's easy to complain and say, I didn't do as well as I wanted to. I'll
Right.
do better next time.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to take the steps to follow through on that. And it's even more difficult to trust a mentor to guide you.
Yeah.
Of what you said with Swang, of I trust that he said, it sounds like he said, I trust you'll get it. Just keep watching the tape. Keep watching the tape. The fact that you have a mentor is a unique thing, and that's something that you get here. I guess it's something you earn here.
Right.
But the fact that you then listen to your mentor and can showcase what you learned the next day based on that work is something that's totally different.
Right.
It's just too easy to say, I want to do this, I want
Yeah.
to be better. To hope that you can be better next time, to hope that the opportunity is easier next time.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that just hope that they'll get better at trading through working.
Yeah.
You have to do the basic work, which you've done over the last 2 years, but then you want to accelerate that growth.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is by taking ownership and having a mentor. At least the best way that we see on our desk is the having a mentor, having someone to guide you, having someone that you're open with of, here's where I took a rip and it sucked.
Yeah.
But then not just sit there and say it sucked, I hope it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Put a plan in place of how you can be better next time.
Right. Right.
Figuring out how to hand off shares to a trading partner. That's huge, because you can allow the people around you to naturally use their strengths,
Right.
and you can focus on what you do naturally well.
Right. Exactly.
Those things are not things to be taken lightly, because they're very process oriented. And so they're things that if you can really figure out, what did I do well today, and have it be independent of what you did well from a trading perspective. But
Yeah.
I reviewed my trades. I learned from my mentor. I worked with my trading partner or other people on my team.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you're doing what we just talked about, of you hear all the different opportunities that get called out and all the different ideas that set up. And you're magnifying those over everyone on your team. Plus you're getting better at all those because you're taking ownership of the work you have to do as a trader each day on our desk.
Yeah.
Um, it's something that's unique, and it's something that sets apart the people that really start to see growth and development and the people that kind of hope they keep growing and
Get
developing.
better. Yeah.
So I really am excited to kind of see what happens the next day now, knowing that you
Yeah.
took ownership of the opportunity you had
Yeah.
and worked on how can I get better at that the next time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's super exciting when like these happen and you know you can get better. When you know there's like, all right, I'm at the base. Like there's so much for me to improve on. I mean, to start off, we got a bunch more shares that we're allowed to trade, which made it far more interesting for us because we were just saying like, we were peanuts compared to the account that our team's trading. And so this time, again, we get opening stuff again, very similar to the day before. And this time, we were in 20 exercise from the prior day, and it's a short trap.
20x?
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Did you feel you had the skills that you could handle that size?
for this take, yeah, because it was like the kill candle kind of stuff with volume, and so I was like, all right, I can manage at least half of this for even. It was 2 times the size of the max share count. It was 20 times the size of like the first time we tried this and I got burned. But because I knew I was bigger and I knew I got burned, the same thing yesterday, like I was watching for that tape, and so it turned and we got out for pretty much maybe like 2 cents or 3 cents. And it wasn't bad because like as soon as it ripped up, like I knew the trade like was wrong, and so that was the first of the 3 size attempts. I felt good about that one, but as soon as it ripped up, like fully up, I knew that this was going to be a lot harder. Because like as a breakout trader, with how strong that breakout was over 350, I was like, if I was long, I'd feel really, really good. And then after that, we got the second consolidation where we're just like consolidating for like an hours. And then we got the second size attempt, which was a scratch. This is after 4 hours waiting for the backside. A little sloppier on this one. And this is where I was, when we were reviewing it as a team, or when I reviewed it myself, I realized this, and I reviewed it with the team. Mental capital drawdown within this trade after 4 hours of sitting in this, that attempt gets so much harder than the hour off the open the day before. Like, talking about them the same way, like we'll have the same conversation, we can say the same prices, we can say the exact same words, but it's just not the same. Like, you're not going to execute it the same. And so I did a lot of thinking of like, how can we be putting ourselves in a better position, right? Because we don't need to be taking every turn when it's holding at high, like holding these highs, X ATR from VWAP, if we're still using that. Like, that becomes a metric that we no longer need to use as like a weighted variable. And so we'll talk about that with the improvements, but the last size attempt was after the change in character, we got some into the limit down at 431, and then I got really heavy into 420 and like 415.
So working with a mentor here,
Mm-hmm.
you were on a call with your mentor
Yeah,
and
this
with your
entire
team.
time. Yeah.
Did you hear the inflection in people's voices change? Did you feel
Oh yeah.
that this was a different opportunity than the other ones? Because if you are size attempting,
Mm-hmm.
you're not size attempting for 5 cents down, 10 cents down.
Yeah. You're looking for the backside. Yeah.
You're looking for the backside.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at the end of this, we know it trades down $3
Yeah.
from here.
Right.
$3.18
Yeah.
to be precise.
Yeah.
Or maybe $3.17. But we know the backside comes. We didn't know that at this time,
Yeah.
but the opportunity set has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Do you feel that that working with the team allowed you to just be ready to go?
Oh, I wouldn't have been able to hit this without the team. I can say that definitively. After like 5 hours of watching this, without the team, I don't like mental capital at that point is fully depleted. If I've taken 2 full-size attempts, like the only thing, like I could even hear it in my teammates' voices, like after they're looking at their P&L churn, even on the joint account, like it just doesn't feel good because like we've set up this scenario in permutation talk, like it could blow off into 5, but now your worst case
Could
is
blow off into 6.
it's
It could blow
holding,
off into
it's
8.
holding at 4. So now it's blowing off higher, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just like I could hear it in everyone's voices. They were just coming down, and then we had Swang saying, "Guys, it's still setting up. It's still setting up. Don't give in." Because his market experience tells him, like, even if it's not going to come now, he wanted us to be ready if it came tomorrow. And so we just sat there the entire time. 100% would not have been
And
ready.
it gave you an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
That working with your mentor, learning from your mentor, gave you an opportunity to be ready, because this is it showed up not out of nowhere, but very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
these are what, 5-minute bars?
Yeah.
And that doesn't represent it, because that entire first down move was I think it was like a minute and 30
yeah,
seconds
like
or
less than
something
2 minutes, yeah.
before it LRP'd to the downside. So the speed at which that occurred, having to be ready for that and making sure you have somebody who's working with you to make sure you're ready for it.
Yeah.
You'll see these occur over the course of days or weeks. For some traders, they have to wait months to get an opportunity like this to set up on a daily chart.
Right. Yeah.
So being prepared to act is a part of what you have to do, and having a team to help you be prepared to act when it's time to act
It's huge.
allows you to be a little more resourceful.
Yeah, I think I made one of the biggest. I don't usually take trades that have like backsides like this with this mental capital drawdown. I think that makes like the entire difference when this sets up or plays out like this.
Do you feel like you were able to get enough size?
No. I feel like I'm gonna say that every time though. So I mean, I only say.
Do you feel that you weren't able to get enough size because of the way the opportunity set up?
Yeah.
Or because of your max share size?
Because of the way opportunity set up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously, like I reviewed those moments again, and I was like, it happens again, I'm gonna be probably like 2 times as big into the first limit down. That was like. I think
It's tough
yeah.
though, because you never know if you can get those shares. Like you can
Right.
try.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having 4 or 5 different ways where you can stay with this trade, because for some people they miss that entire first limit down.
Yeah.
And some people even miss the second limit down.
That's tough then.
It's not if your trade's the bounce. It's not.
That's true.
You know.
299.
And there are times that you're asleep or you're, out to grab a cup of coffee or like a sandwich or something.
Yeah.
And stuff happens. I was on the phone earlier when CEO, I literally stepped off the desk for what I felt like was 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Was on the phone when the report came out. So there's times where you don't get exactly what you want.
Yeah.
You still want to have enough plays in your playbook that you can take advantage of opportunities.
Right. Yeah.
Because then you're sizing into this move, and then you're sizing into the next move, and then you're sizing into the next move, and the next move, and the next move.
Yeah.
And it becomes a series of trades versus this big version of a backside.
Right. I think as a team, we didn't get obviously enough into the first limit down, but the difference, like conversation there, wasn't like we don't have enough size. It was like asking questions about like what's our next aggressive permutation, like how are we gonna get this, and it was like a weak bounce against limit down and 450 against that high day, and that's just what played out. And so I think just talking about it over and over again in the 5 minutes helped a lot. 10 minutes, so that's the day 2 backside. And then there were 2 long scalps. These are just tape turns that I think I can be bigger in. First one is just scalping risk for the backside. The second one is a lot more powerful. It's the mean reversion. Also triggered SSR. That one has a ton of edge. In terms of reviewing those trades, first one is a timing point that I'm just progressively working on. Second one is, that one's more structured. We reviewed this one as a team, how we talked about it. We talked about the data point of SSR. That is pretty much everything. Talked about how it held before it dropped into the SSR point. Talked about all the permutations of once it did hold there, we're expecting a bigger washout. When we didn't get it, we readjusted within a minute of putting on size in 290s and the reclaim at 3.
How did the call feel after you were involved with size
Yeah.
on the first down move?
Oh my god.
You were talking about the mental fatigue,
Yeah, yeah.
and you could hear it on our desk very clearly
Yeah.
of people were just tired. It was a long trade setting up.
Yeah, yeah.
But were people
No.
a little happier?
yeah. The mood complete, like, it was pretty unreal. It was very exciting. The limit down into 365. This is a moment I'm always gonna remember now. But it goes limit down the second time, 365, and this is after we got our size, like 420s and whatnot. We talked it through and everything, and I just stand up out of my desk and like take 2 steps to my left to where Swain can see me. He's just looking right at me, and I just start pumping my fist, and he's just beaming because he knows. Like, he's like, he just made the trade. I just made the trade with him, and it was just like, it made the 5 hours so worth it.
It's cool, right?
Yeah.
To be a part of that.
Yeah.
And
It
it's
was-
not even that you're in the room watch. You're a part of that.
Yeah. It was, man, that was something. We did talk about how we got caught up in that actually a little bit as a team. We talked about how we didn't flip to the long conversations fast enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't talk about that. Was going to be the next question.
Yeah.
Was it over exuberance? Can you,
yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
Team review, we were talking about that pretty heavily, like as excited as it was, like we were, but we got to be talking like, we get those volatile moves like that. It's like CEI
This is
today.
the moment you've
Yeah.
been waiting for.
Exactly,
So be
right.
in the moment
Mhm.
versus patting yourselves on the back in the second
Yeah.
quarter of the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it was very easy to get caught up in that, but
But you can be that person for your team.
Yeah.
You can be that person that says, "That's great. What's the next trade?
Yeah.
What's the next trade?
what's our next
What's
best
the next trade?"
permutation? Yeah.
Because the opportunity sets that were allowed or afforded traders, especially short-term traders, in this stock
Yeah.
on this day were unbelievable because of the
Yeah.
liquidity and the size that you could, the liquidity and the size of the moves, and actually the cleanliness of them. They were pretty clean moves.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that, you know, there are people who were like, I nailed the top. There were people like, I nailed the bounce.
Yeah.
None of that shit matters if you don't just stay in the moment and just trade it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was a big team
It's
revelation.
exciting,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah,
tough
yeah.
not to get caught up in that,
Yeah.
like, wow, we just
Fucking-
crushed
yeah,
this.
nailed it.
And then you just miss the next trade.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or you get into a
Undersized.
situation where
Yeah.
what happened today, where all of a sudden you crush the short and then you get roasted on the long because you're, you know, the other way. So
Yeah.
the more you can kind of be that person for your team and make sure that you're talking about what are the opportunities here, especially in big moments.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Because as much as we like to think moments are so short, I mean, this entire thing played out over almost an hour and a half, and it felt like about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're really involved in it
Yeah.
gives you the chance to not have to be perfect, maybe.
Right. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Those are the long scalps, and then we just talked about this a little bit, but the review side, we're talking about as a team, how was our mental drawdown different? How are we ready for it? And then myself, I was thinking my value to the team. How can I improve my strengths? This is on the weakness side. I'm not great at tiering into extensions. I'm a little better on the long side, bidding into prices lower, but it's still uncomfortable. So we might have to talk about this off the playbook, but it was like a volatility ATR that kind of helped Swing with his executions. That would help his extensions on something like this. It was just more accurate, and it would help us be scaling more correctly, like more appropriate to the real blow off. And then
Yeah,
skill
let's talk
set.
about that off camera because that is a really sensitive topic, and
Yeah.
you can see the other side of that happening as well.
Right.
So
yeah.
let's talk about that off camera. But
Yeah.
I think you're missing something here of how can I improve my strengths further.
Yeah.
I really think you need to be saying, I need to be learning from my team on every big trade.
Right.
I think you're doing that, but the difference that we saw in the way you adjusted the way you were trading day one of a potential backside into day two of what ultimately became a real backside, that growth and development in that short of a period of time in a big opportunity set is huge, because you think about that trade, did it kind of make your month?
Yeah.
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 And had you not made any of those adjustments,
Would have missed it. Yeah.
you would have missed it. You could have been in and it could have made your day or your week, not your month.
Yeah.
So doing the work with somebody who can help you see how good of an opportunity it is, help you learn what you're doing and how you can do that better, and then coming in with that growth mindset of, I can do this better by practicing it.
Right.
Not, I hope I do this better
Next time.
Next
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Being more active with my experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'll have the CEI in your playbook for the rest of your trading career. You'll have, we talked about the Tilray short and how
Yeah.
much that looked like. That,
Yeah.
you know, you'll see a ton of these different examples, and the more you can get better from each one, then you're just, it's a process of getting better. It's not a process of anything else.
Right.
And to get better, you need to do practice, and you need to do it in a very structured way, and you need to do it with critical feedback, which we do on our desk with a mentor.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really something you shouldn't ever walk away from. You should really find ways to do that better and better and better,
Right. Yeah.
and push your mentor to help you get better too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest help within that side, like my strengths, we did like a massive review session as a team, and then reviewing tape, because those reads are like really important for the way I execute. I just have a bunch of notes from what he said with those tape reads and how I can be a little bit faster. But it's like seconds, you know? Like that's the difference that it's making now. It's like it's 1.5 to 2 second difference, which is kind of crazy.
But that controls your mindset. That
Yeah.
allows you to have the fluidity a little more.
right. That's where I'm ready for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the big trade played out over an hour and a half. If you're thinking in 1 to 2 seconds on that, then you're
Yeah.
going to miss a lot of the big trade.
Yeah.
It's good. It's awesome to see you take what you learned one day and then apply it the next day. It's even better to see you take what you learned one day, practice it, and then get better at it the next day when you have an opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's even better that you did that all in a team structure, so that then you can celebrate in those moments. Just
a
don't
team.
celebrate too much and focus on the next trade next time, and you'll be in
Yeah.
a really good spot. That's fun. It's fun to see people get better. That's the best part of what we get to do every day, is we get challenged by the market in different ways every single day. And it's easy to sit back and say, oh, you know, I hope I get better tomorrow, or I hope I have better opportunities tomorrow.
Right.
And it's much better to be prepared for whatever shows up.
Hey, go ahead and click our subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos that we're producing for you in the trading community. And please take the time to add your feedback in the comments section for what videos you'd like for us to produce next, and what you found helpful from this video. From all of us at SMB, train and trade well.